I am very close to Sedona. Maybe you can see the mountains from there. Everything is super red here. And I got here yesterday after I had a fantastic exploration day in Jerome, Arizona. So much fun. You will see the video. It was incredible. But I was going to meet here with my friend Sharon, and you have seen her. This is the lady that spins wool, and we had an interview with her, and we showed her van when we were in Nevada almost a year ago, and you met her dog Finnley, or Mr. Finnley. And yesterday when I got here, there is this thing about the weather where there are mountains. I learned this when I was in Colorado last summer. At about 3 p.m. or so, you start hearing thunder. And I think it is during the monsoon season, but you hear the thunder and it might rain or not. But it's typical of this time of the year. 3 p.m. or so, between 3 and 4, you hear thunder. So yesterday when I got here, I got a message from Sharon. She was absolutely heartbroken because there was thunder, and the minute Mr. Finnley heard the first sounds, he panicked and ran away. He disappeared. He'd run away so fast, Sharon didn't have time to do anything. And she usually, when she calls him, he responds by barking, but he was not responding. Luckily, there was a ranger around there, so he tried to help Sharon. But of course, Mr. Finnley is a small Chihuahua and he's an old dog, so it was not easy to see if he was anywhere there, and he was not responding. So for several hours, we didn't know what happened, and finally, late at night, Mr. Finnley came back and barked to Sharon so she would see him. It was dark already, and he was full of thorns. And it was 4 hours. He was missing for 4 hours. Sharon had a horrible day yesterday with that. She was heartbroken. She broke my heart with a text. She said, "This area is full of coyote, so Mr. Finnley doesn't have a chance." And I know what she was saying was absolutely right. And it broke my heart. So we just had to wait. There was no other chance. I mean, he was not responding at all. So the message here is this. I mean, Mr. Finnley came back. He's exhausted. He had dinner and then he passed out. The point here is when you are in these lands out there, if you have pets, remember these lands are not friendly. Not to pets and not to us either. It could be a rattlesnake, a scorpion, spiders, you name it, that may attack us. Well, bears, of course, mountain lions. There are some in this area. But our pets are even more vulnerable because they just run And that is the worst thing you can do when confronted with a bigger animal that may try to prey on you. Chihuahuas are particularly attractive to birds of prey because they see the poor little dog running and they may think it's a rabbit, a bunny. So, I mean, they will chase after him. Mr. Finnley was so lucky, and Sharon was so lucky. I mean, she was desperate. So, when you have a pet and you're in these areas, boondocking around here, please, please have them leashed all the time. Not because they may attack another person, which may happen, but they're very vulnerable. And since Mr. Finley is an older dog, Sharon never thought of him straying away because he's older. He doesn't have that much energy. And still, he was so afraid of thunder that he ran as fast as he would have when he was 1 year old. That whole situation reminded me of the dog I grew up with. And luckily, I do not have any photos of him, but I will upload a photo of something similar. So he was like a German Shepherd, but all yellow. And he was such a loyal dog. And I wanted to share this story with you because I am old. Decades have gone by, and I get emotional every time I remember what this dog would do for me. He was about 6 to 8 months old, so he was a puppy, and he loved me. I was a baby. I was a very, very small baby, like, I don't know, 2 months old, and we were almost the same age. And one day my father, he noticed that this dog was very protective of me, even if he was a puppy. So just to test him, he left me in the stroller at a corner, and he told the dog to sit there and stay. And my father went, he went away a little bit and he hid, and he was observing what was going on. That dog he took it so seriously, being my bodyguard, that any person that would walk nearby, they had to take a little detour to go around my stroller because he would show them his teeth. He wouldn't let anybody approach. And my father, being a huge prankster, he was having so much fun with that. Gosh. But in any case, that is how protective this dog was. And he lived with us until he passed when he was about 14 or 15 years old. I remember when he was already very old, he was blind, and he couldn't even move, poor thing. When I had to leave the house to go to high school, I had to walk barefoot, trying not to have him hearing that I was leaving, so he wouldn't try to follow me, because he couldn't move, poor thing. He was in pain. And so I had to be very careful not to let him hear that I was leaving. because he wanted to go after me and take care of me. That was one of the sweetest memories I have from my childhood. But this dog, he had a very, very, very particular personality. I think if you want to equate his personality to something, it would be a mobster. Some type of bodyguard, uh, a godfather that would take care of everyone around him. He was always unleashed, and our neighbors were okay with that because he would take care of all the houses in the block. He would patrol the block regularly, and he would take care of anyone that was not meant to be there. He was not a fierce or bad dog at all. He was not a mean dog. He didn't have one little drop of meanness in him, but he knew who the neighbors were, and if there was someone there that shouldn't be there, he would just sit in front of whichever house and just look at this person, kind of convincing them not to keep going. So it was a particular thing, but as I say, my neighbors, they were all delighted, because if they were in their houses, the dog wouldn't do that. In our house, many people would walk in. We had a big patio, and there was a gate outside by the sidewalk, and people would open the gate and walk the patio to where my father was sitting, and they would engage in conversations with him. The dog wouldn't budge. But if we were not in the house, not even any friend of the family or anybody else would be able to walk in, because he wouldn't let them. It was such an intelligent dog. And sometimes, because he was a stray, animal control would take him, thinking that he was a stray dog. And if any neighbor saw animal control taking him, they would take their car and go to the offices of animal control and claim it back and bring him back home. We never had to go because there was always a neighbor ready to go. It was amazing. It was a very particular dog. The only thing my father hated about that dog was the fact that in those nice summer eves, when we were just relaxing at home, sitting we used to have grapes, vines, and we would sit there in the evening to have some pizza my father would make or something. Our dog would stray away and walk about 4 or 5 blocks to this barbecue restaurant, and he made friends with all the cooks there, so they would always give him something, like short ribs, a strip of short ribs or something, and he wouldn't eat that there. He would bring it in his mouth and sit by my father and eat it there. And my father would fume. He would say, if I want to eat that, I have to pay for that. And they give it to him for free. That was the personality of that amazing dog I grew up with. I was never able to explain why he was like that, but he was more like a human than a dog. So I am very happy today. I'm going to finally meet with Sharon and Mr. Finnley. I am very, very happy Mr. Finnley is okay. And if you are going to go out with your pets, please remember, you may not see the coyote, you may not see a mountain lion, because they are very good at hiding, but there might be an eagle or a vulture or some bird of prey that may take your small dog or cat for a hare. So you don't want to go through that experience. So please, please. And I am going to put a link to some silicone boots for your dog, because they really hurt in these lands. I mean, there are sharp rocks, there are thorns, there are glass shards. I mean, there is all kinds, and sometimes they are very, very hot. So I'm going to put a link to those boots, little boots I suggest. Just make sure your pet is nice and healthy. And you have a great day. Take care.
I gotta see your face, I miss you, miss you.